Broadcasts of HIKI NŌ are made possible by the support of viewers like you. Mahalo. And by Bank of Hawaii Foundation, investing in Hawaii's future by promoting collaboration, critical thinking, and other 21st century skills through HIKI NŌ. Kamehameha Schools, empowering Hawaiian keiki to explore, discover, and inspire. ABC Stores, a local company helping to transform education and develop Hawaii's workforce through bold learning initiatives like HIKI NŌ.
So I went to STN back when I was a 7th grader and 8th grader, and when I went both those years, it was an exhilarating experience. It changes your whole mindset on, not even just being within the film industry, but being in a work industry in general. You get to interact with other people that talk about their special passions and whatnot, and it just sets your heart up and just keeps it beating forward.
Every March, for the past 17 years, anticipation builds to a fever pitch for what has been called the Super Bowl of youth video competitions, the Student Television Network, or STN convention. It's a national competition that HIKI NŌ schools have consistently excelled in, often taking home 20% of the awards given out.
We love the HIKI NŌ schools. I think that not only have they been well trained and prepared, but I believe that somehow storytelling is in their DNA, because they're able to take topics and spin them into stories that you wouldn't ordinarily think are the direction that you would take with that topic.
By March 11, 2020, the eve of the 17th annual STN convention, students, teachers, and chaperones from 13 HIKI NŌ schools had traveled all the way to Washington, D.C. to participate in the competition, only to learn that it had been canceled when the COVID-19 virus outbreak was officially declared a pandemic. This is a story about the resilience of Hawaii's new wave of storytellers in the face of heartbreaking disappointment in the midst of a world crisis.
Life gives you something and you've got to keep moving forward. Life goes on.
The STN convention is 4 days. Day one is students and teachers working together in an 8-hour competition. Days 2 and 3 are students working on their own in contests and also attending sessions taught by professionals in the industry. And day 4 is a closing ceremony with awards for everything produced on site.
In preparation for coming to STN, there's a lot of anticipation, a lot of build-up. I think, I have this bad habit of kind of overhyping things, but I really wanted them to experience the excitement of STN, being in a ballroom filled with 2,500 other kids that are just like them. At our school they're kind of the outcasts, but here, for them to experience being part of a larger crowd and seeing that there are a lot more people out there just like them. There are a lot of people that are passionate about storytelling and digital media and video production.
Anything else you want to add? We've been fundraising all year. We're selling food after school. We're selling candy bars to kids at school. We're doing concession at track meets and other sporting events at my school. So as far as preparing financially, we've been since August at this.
So in preparation for STN, we held practices every week on Saturdays. And so we would spend about 6 to 8 hours just practicing and reworking competitions.
But there were really big expectations. They worked really hard. They worked really hard, practicing, getting ready for competitions, and also they were looking forward to learning because the competing part is a very small part and it's not the entire thing. So they were looking forward to learning.
So coming to Washington, D.C. was really important to me because it meant I could get more almost professional experience doing what makes me happy, and it's an outlet for me to be exposed to some really, really important people and really important resources.
I wanted to prove to myself and to everyone at our club and who's in STN that I could do things, that I was good enough. And that I could actually accomplish something up there on the biggest stage.
The first thing I was expecting them to take away is awards, because we've been working really hard and I think they were pretty prepared for it. I was also expecting them to take away like learning that they got in sessions, but more so like a sense of confidence that they finished stuff, they met the time limits, and they could compete with people from all across the nation. Because I think sometimes they think like, oh, we're this small school, but yeah, so that was the first thing, was confidence, awards, and new friends.
But as the days ticked down to the start of STN 2020, cases of COVID-19 were growing at an alarming rate in the U.S. Although few states had yet to enact shelter-in-place policies and sweeping travel restrictions were not yet in place. 2 days before the convention was to start, just as most school groups were about to depart for D.C., the STN website stated that the event was still on.
We monitored the events that were happening in D.C. and across the country throughout the time that things were changing.
My friend Jackie is the president, and so she was texting me the night before. She's like, Jen, I think it's going to turn south on us. And I'm like, I kind of felt it when I was getting on the plane. I was thinking, I don't know if we should like go, but it's still going, so we have no justification for not going. But you know that weird elevator feeling you get? And I don't want to let the kids down. Like, what if I had said no and it did happen? That would have been the worst thing ever.
Then, on March 11th, the day before the convention was to commence, COVID-19 was officially declared a pandemic, and the city of Washington, D.C. shut down all events with more than 1,000 attendees. STN usually draws about 3,000 participants. The organizers had no choice.
The cancellation of the convention occurred after things changed very rapidly in the city of Washington, D.C.
It was real. It was posted on their website and on the Student Television Network's social media.
When we showed up to the Washington Hilton for the STN convention yesterday, and we were so excited to go and pick up our packets and get our lanyards with our badge, making it official that we're participating.
As we were checking in for registration yesterday, we realized that the whole competition was canceled, and it's kind of a shock for every one of us.
That STN was canceled. You know, the students, like everybody, was more than just disappointed. For all of my students, this is the first trip to Washington, D.C. For some of them, this is their first experience with STN. And we do have one senior in the group, so this would have been his last opportunity to participate. But, you know, with everything that's happening with COVID-19, it's totally understandable, you know, the decisions that had to be made because of just the situation.
STN is canceled, STN is canceled. And we're like, what? Everyone is in shock, everyone's in disbelief, no one believes that. And we're like, you're lying. And some of us, we just break down. Like, I cried a lot. And my partner and I, we work on the show together, and we're competing in the same event and stuff, and we just like stuck together because we're super sad, we're heartbroken.
I'm for real, that's what you just said.
What?
Shock. Everybody was just shocked. We sat there in silence for like a solid minute, and I don't think any of us really expected it to be canceled.
Building up to that, you know, getting all the way over here, and we're on the cusp of attending the conference, and you know, having the rug pulled out from under their feet the night before. You know, there are some tears, you know, both by the kids and the adults.
Oh, you just want to cry right then and there, but you have to put up a strong front for them. So, I mean, seeing their faces, just hearing it getting canceled makes you just want to stop breathing, and it's hard to breathe, actually.
It just was kind of surreal because of all the hard work, fundraising and practicing and Googling and asking questions and going to events. All of that kind of seemed like all of the anticipation and all of the excitement just went away, like just like that.
After the shock subsided, the reality of the situation sank in.
So it hurt, and at first we were it took a little while to hit. It was definitely a tough night. We all met up in one of our apartment rooms, and we had some ice cream to kind of help us get through the night.
The situation, it happened. We couldn't do anything about it. It was out of our hands. So we just moved on. We accepted it, and we stuck together, and we talked about it.
When we call our meeting, I told them this is what it is. We can't do anything about it. Nothing's going to change. It is up to you guys how you kind of turn it around. And it was nice to see them kind of, say, hey, we've got to move forward. We've got to accept it for what it is.
The first step in moving forward was to decide whether to fly back to Hawaii as soon as possible or remain in D.C. and stick to the originally scheduled flights back home.
I got called by my principal, and he said, hey, how you guys doing? Just checked in on us. He knew we were okay. And, he said it was up to us if we wanted to stay all the way through or what, if we wanted to come back early. We checked the flights.
I didn't get flights until Saturday. Wow, I have those flights already.
No, I think I told my kids, I said once we get our plan in place, then we're gonna have the parents decide what they want to do.
We knew that the students' parents would be concerned, and we didn't want to keep the kids here too long. So we kind of looked at the pricing for the flights, and anything leaving before Monday was like $1,000 extra per seat on top of what we already paid. So, that was out of the question. So the earliest we could get back was going back Monday, which is kind of a nice compromise. It gives us a little bit more time to spend in DC.
Oh wait, okay, okay. And then after some time in the castle, we'll walk over to the wharf and catch the water taxi. So you can see DC by water. I'm happy we had this opportunity. We didn't get a chance to participate in the competitions, but the students have had a experience here in DC. They saw a lot of the monuments, immersed in our nation's history. We got to ride the metro and survive. So I think they've gained a lot in other ways.
What motivated me to keep going was that, one, I was already in Washington, D.C., so I was like, okay, I have to make the most out of it because I'm not going to get this opportunity ever again. And plus, I can go to STN next year, so I have another chance at it. Spending time in the nation's capital has really, really opened my eyes to what the world is like and to how different every place in the world is. And I come from a really small town in a rural on the beach, and getting to come here and see how big the buildings are and how many different kinds of people there are in the world and how diverse communities are all over the world.
That's where it really stood out that, these kids are happy doing just about anything. They're able to deal with disappointment. That's where we took it kind of hard as advisors. The last thing we want to do is disappoint our kids, but seeing them bounce back quickly and just enjoying the day yesterday was awesome.
But after a few days of touring DC, many of the museums and other attractions began to close down due to public gathering restrictions being enacted by the city and federal government. While social distancing mandates had not yet been enacted, the specter of COVID-19's rapid spread was impossible to ignore.
When I was back in Hawaii, I didn't really think much of it. I knew it was an issue, and I was kind of afraid, and I thought it was kind of serious, but I never realized how big it is and important it is up in the mainland. So coming here in the nation's capital really opened up my eyes to what's going on.
Coronavirus is definitely worrying everyone around the world, and I think that it's changing everyone changing most people because they're getting worried. They're seeing that it's spreading.
In light of this worldwide health crisis, the teachers' top priority was always the safety and well-being of their students.
Yeah, being so far away from home, we're kind of the parents of these kids, and we really take that responsibility seriously. And so, we want to make sure that they're getting enough rest, they're eating well, also making sure that they're washing their hands. We're all walking around with our bottles of sanitizing gel. And so after we go through every doorway, it's like, oh, open up your hands, give them all a squirt of the alcohol gel, and get off of the metro, sanitize, we go wash, before we eat, go wash your hands,
We brought over 50 pounds of cleaning stuff. So we have been wiping down everything, even the hamburger wrappers yesterday.
Even with so many things weighing on their mind, the students did not lose sight of the reason they had traveled all the way to D.C. in the first place.
Storytelling is what we came here to do, and that's what we're really passionate about. But at the end of the day, all we really care about is being able to practice and film and edit and work together. So we knew we couldn't compete and we couldn't join any of the categories or the competitions we had entered in, but we knew we still wanted to do something that kind of captured our trip and something to show for it.
The students and teachers who have stayed in town are amazing. We've shared some of the prompts from the convention, so they're actually producing them.
Our class especially really loves meeting all the different students from all across the country, so we thought it'd be a really cool idea to make a story about not only our experience, but all the other students' experiences, finding the light in this kind of situation.
It hasn't been the same as what STN is, but it's been pretty darn fun.
Is there anything else that you took away from this experience that you'd like to share?
I don't like coronavirus.
Good to know. Good to Thanks, man.
Well, we're gonna go and do a documentary. So the entirety of the STN crew is working on this, either getting interviewed, shooting B-roll, or just editing. And so this documentary, I'm not sure how long it is, but we're gonna try and edit it down and see if we can maybe take out certain elements and turn them into their own mini things. So like, for example, maybe how we learned that Corona had affected Washington D.C. and stuff like that. So that's how we're gonna try and keep our spirits up and practice what we're doing a little bit more.
Okay, so I think they're taking away, I think because we're still doing videos, I think they're still gonna have a sense of accomplishment. I think actually our videos that we're producing now are gonna go maybe spread further than what we would have done as content for the contest. So maybe they'll even have a greater sense of accomplishment.
And it's a new reality for everyone. But when the Student Television Network National Competition this year in Washington, D.C. was canceled due to worry about the spread, 3,000 students were left disappointed and not knowing what was going to come next. Maui Waina Intermediate brought a group of 25 students to compete in the competition. And when the students found out, disappointment was spread.
So I think the most disappointing part about everything is doing all that hard work. We've been practicing ever since the start of the school year with each other, and we became like a family, and it just sucks to see that all the work that we did kind of got thrown away.
For Zoe Zane, this is her third STN trip, and for her, it was the most important one because of an exciting opportunity.
The most exciting part about being student presenter was to meet new people, as I said earlier, and to present awards and to show off your personality and, just have a good time with the closing ceremony. And I have worked really hard to get that. I was actually the first student presenter for our school, and it just sucks that I never got to have that opportunity.
Even with the heartbreak feeling, everyone came together and thought about the situation in a more positive way.
This is an opportunity for my kids to be real journalists. This is not a synthetic prompt. This is not a 6-hour contest or something. This is real, actual journalism. So if, in that case, I guess we're super lucky to have this experience because I've never had a journalistic opportunity like this in my entire life.
Our kids are great storytellers. they grew up with the technology. So if we can get them to harness that love for that technology with the ability to tell compelling stories, I think they're going to be the ones that will help document this whole ordeal. They'll be able to give fresh insight from a child or a youngster's perspective, you know.
Well, young storytellers are, I think we tend to have an optimistic point of view because we haven't been exposed to as much as more experienced storytellers. So I think it's really important for us to share what we think about what's going on.
I think the outbreak played a big part in our experience with doing what we love, doing what we're passionate about, which is storytelling. And whether it's broadcast or film, I think that a few of us would reach out and try to make a change, try to use what we can do, what we know how to do, to really push for a change that will actually help everyone. Yeah.
I think it's really important that we educate people and that we go out and we do what we can to tell people what's true from what's not.
We wanted to just show our side of the story, how we were affected and how we're dealing with it. And I feel like that's a major thing that can bring together not just us, but many of the people in media around the world, because we're all dealing with this right now. And so I feel like that's a major thing that could affect everybody.
By Monday, March 16th, the day after STN would have ended, all of the HIKI NŌ school groups were either back in Hawaii or well on their way. With 14 days of self-quarantine ahead of them back home, students and teachers alike realized that this was an STN they would never forget. It was an experience filled with disappointment and heartbreak, but also great joy and growth. It was a journey with many life lessons learned, especially about oneself.
I guess what I learned from this experience is that even though things don't work out, there's still hope and there's still an opportunity to make something out of almost nothing. You just have to be in the right mindset and around the right people to take advantage of that.
And we all made it like such a fun experience as the 5 of us just traveled together, and yeah, we just had fun because you never know when you're going to have this chance ever again.
I think it's definitely sad that I won't be here next year and that I won't be able to experience this again, but this definitely was an experience in itself, you know. The convention getting canceled, we've never experienced that before, and it really brought the group together in terms of, you know, we struggle together in a different way. We're not struggling with like the competition, but we're struggling with other things that we face. Yeah.
It shows the grit and the resilience the students have to be able to make it into a positive experience, and then fly all the way back home, you know, and say, okay, maybe next year, you know. So it's nice to see. It's nice to see them understand the situation, make it into a positive thing, and end the trip still happy that they were able to go on it. So it's unfortunate, but it's fortunate to have the students that we have. So.
Well, kids are resilient and forgiving and very loving. And the love that the kids and the teachers have for this organization is overwhelming to me.
Oh yeah, this experience has definitely brought us closer because, you know, when you're busy doing competitions, you're busy working, it's closeness, but it's more like a business relationship. Now we're like, okay, we don't really have work to do, so now we're all calmer. We wouldn't have all these dinners at home too because we'd be on the go. So this is like, it's definitely brought this group close.
I feel like my biggest learning experience is just how fragile life is. I just hope that we all learn how precious life is and we appreciate everyone that's around us more, because there's just so much time we have on Earth, and this is really an experience for us, and I feel like it should be a learning one.
They learn a lot of things. You know, in our class, it's not a typical class where you learn a subject and you take a test and you move on. With media, you know, your best is often never good enough. You know, there's always something else that can be done. They're always working to improve themselves. And I think through this experience, they've learned that, yes, they are tougher than, you know, even they expected. And they're able to bounce back from disappointment and, you know, really take advantage of the opportunity and actually do something.
I think most importantly, I learned that it's okay to be sad or to be disappointed, whether it's in someone else or a convention or yourself, as long as it's not prolonged. And once you let yourself feel like that, you make sure that you come out of it and you make the best out of your situation, because that's really all you can do. And life's too short, and I think you just need to let yourself cope and then move on and make the best of your situation. And whether that's making new friends or finding a new story to tell or heading home and eating celebratory ice cream, whatever you need to do to keep going and to keep doing what you love.
Broadcasts of HIKI NŌ are made possible by the support of viewers like you. Mahalo. And by Bank of Hawaii Foundation, investing in Hawaii's future by promoting collaboration, critical thinking, and other 21st century skills through HIKI NŌ. Kamehameha Schools, empowering Hawaiian keiki to explore, discover, and inspire. ABC Stores, a local company helping to transform education and develop Hawaii's workforce through bold learning initiatives like HIKI NŌ.